Hello, this video will be talking about what Pyrray is and how you can use it to locate structures easier in speedrunning. First off, this is not my discovery. This was discovered by Chemits or Chemites5. I'll link his video on Pyrray in the description, so definitely go check him out. So to access the profiler graph or the pie, hold down Shift and press F3. On the bottom right, the pie appears, and below it are the various different menus. To the left of these menus, there are numbers which you can use to navigate the profiler. The one we care about for speedrunning is block entities. To navigate to that, go to the menu tick, then to level, entities, and finally block entities. Now, below the pie, you can see that various different block entities have appeared. These are what we have loaded currently into our render distance, which is what I have in front of us right now. Since these block entities only appear within a player's loaded render distance, we can use render distance manipulation in order to determine the location of several different structures. This armor stand is a player, and each of these blocks is one chunk. Since a player has a render distance of 2, this player will be able to see 2 blocks in every direction. Bells are exclusive block entities to villages. However, since the block lays outside of the player's render distance, it is not loaded and will not appear on the pie chart. However, if the player increases their render distance to 3 instead, or anything higher than that, the bell will become loaded and then appear on the pie chart. Another way we would be able to load the bell is by moving. By moving into a different chunk, we shift the area that the player loads in, also loading the bell into the pie chart. Here in the Nether, we can see there are 2 block entities that are loaded currently. Chests, which can come from ruined portals, fortresses, or bastions, and the mob spawner, which could be a blaze spawner from the fortress, or it could be a magma cube spawner from the treasure bastion. We can use this mob spawner in order to determine where the fortress is. First, we must enable chunks, which can be enabled by pressing F3 and G at the same time. This will give us the location of our current chunk. Next, you turn down your render distance down to 2. Since we already know there's a mob spawner, there's likely that there's either a treasure bastion or a fortress nearby. Now, once we open back the pie chart, nothing appears. Now, using F3 and F, we can increase our render distance incrementally until we load in the spawner. Right here at 12, one of the chests appear. And at 16, the mob spawner appears. Now that we know that, let's reset our render distance. And now we will set our render distance to 1 below what it was when we reached the spawner, which was 16, so we will set it to 15. Now what you can do is move in each direction from your own chunk in order to try and load the spawner in. In this direction, we see the mob spawner loads back in, so we know that there is a fortress or a treasure bastion that way. Using microlensing, we see that there are no bastions in this area. Therefore, there must be a fortress. And as we can see here, here's the fortress. The pie can also help with villages when creating new worlds. If we look for certain blocks, such as the bell, or other villager workstations, such as brewing stands and blast furnaces, we can determine if there's a village nearby, and then use the same trick for the fortress in order to determine the location of the village. Also, for plain and desert villages, we can look to see if there is a furnace in order to determine if there's a blacksmith. Finally, we can use Pyrray in order to determine the location of the portal room within the stronghold. since there's always a silverfish spawner in that room. By using a low render distance, we can create an area around the spawner chunk where, if we stand, will load in the spawner. By locating one of the corners of these chunks, we can move in the number of chunks, in this case 2, to gain the location of the portal room. Chemits or Chemites shows this off in his video, so watch that to learn more about that. However, you should know that there can be some false positives while doing this, because in the overworld, spawners can also spawn in mineshafts and dungeons. So that's basically how you can determine location of different structures using Pyre. Once again, check out Chemits or Chemite's video in the description. He deserves all the credit for this. Thank you for watching.